You ready to clap now? What's up, everybody? Welcome to your San Diego Comic-Con 2016 panel, 20 Years of Tomb Raider. How are you? I like this audience a lot. I'm upset that this man over here in the blue shirt with the flannel on top did not clap or react at all. Are you okay, sir? Thank you. He's excited too. I'm Greg Miller from Kind of Funny. We have quite the panel for you. I want to go down the line right now, introduce everyone to you, or more importantly, have them introduce themselves to you. Meagan Marie.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Excellent. What did you think of the Wonder Woman trailer? You're in your Wonder Woman dress.
I don't have words.
It's very good.
I'm so excited.
Meagan, what's your connection to Tomb Raider?
Longtime Tomb Raider fan, current senior community manager at Crystal Dynamics, and I recently wrote a book on the history of Tomb Raider, which was an incredible experience and honor, and also terrifying. So.
Excellent. Andy Park. If I understand this correctly, you mocapped all of Lara Croft's moves.
Nope.
No, I don't understand it. What's your connection to Tomb Raider?
I was the original artist on the Top Cow Tomb Raider comic book back in 1999, drawing.
Woo!
Round of applause if you weren't born in 1999.
Oh, man.
God, you're so old,
It's a long
Andy.
time ago.
You're so old. I'm so old. Debbie Lash.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to this panel.
Thank you for having me.
Explain to everybody, what's your connection to Tomb Raider?
So I used to manage and cast all the faces of Lara Croft. I did all 6 girls, part 4, the last girl, Allison.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah.
You've been doing this, you're good at it.
Yeah, I'm old school, darling.
Round of applause for people who are old school. Yeah. Now, I just looked out into the crowd. Gambit, does the staff really need to be that large? It seems a bit preposterous. Oh, my God. Noah Hughes, thank you for coming to this panel.
Hello, thank you.
Explain to everyone here, what do you do with this hair Tomb Raider?
I am creative director on the last 2 Tomb Raiders and overseeing the franchise. And a big fan forever that Tomb Raider is one of the games that opened my eyes to what games could be and filled me with the passion to make games myself. And I have the honor and privilege to be able to make Tomb Raider games now.
That's awesome. That was a good answer. And then Miss Camilla Luddington.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
What's your connection to Tomb Raider?
I am the voice, and I do the motion capture for the new Tomb Raider franchise.
Coming to PlayStation 4 very soon with a Platinum Trophy, and we're all very excited. We're going to go through one by one and talk to everybody about your career and your don't touch the button yet. Go back. I said don't do that. We're going to talk to each one of you. But before we do that, because I want everybody to touch the ball real quick, I'm going to go backwards this way. Camilla Luddington, why does Tomb Raider still matter 20 years later?
Oh, well, I think that I've said this in many interviews before, but I don't think that there are enough female characters kicking ass in the way that Lara Croft still is. And so I think that she's obviously still iconic and she's influential, and I meet fans all the time that say that Tomb Raider has changed their life in very specific ways. So it's incredible that it's still touching people in those ways, and yeah, she's an inspiration. She's Lara Croft. Yes.
No, why does Tomb Raider still matter?
I think one of the things that's true for me about Tomb Raider is, and specifically Lara Croft, is she represents adventure perfectly. She represents something fundamental in the human spirit, this desire to discover the unknown, to unravel these ancient secrets. And I think that appeals to people on a very fundamental level, that we all are in this general adventure of life. But what's great about Tomb Raider is you get this escapism that takes you on these amazing adventures, but it still really is a reflection of that human spirit and that desire to discover, which I love.
Debbie.
You know, I was thinking about this on the drive here, and just 2 words came to mind: girl power. It all happened around the same time as the Spice Girls, and Lara, she didn't only appeal to men, but she appealed to girls and women all around the world. And she's strong, she's sexy, and I think, she was the first female gaming heroine, and everyone fell in love with her. And I just think for 20 years, you remember your first love.
Andy?
I agree with Camilla that I think there's not enough strong female characters in pop culture, but she really is, or was, or is the first, was the first female iconic character in the video game industry. And I think the other thing that just makes her iconic is also her visual, I mean, that's why there's so many cosplayers. She is sexy, but she's also strong in character. She's essentially like a female version of Indiana Jones, but cooler and stronger, because Indiana Jones is a little bit more goofy. So, yeah.
And then Meagan.
Yeah, that's such a complex question, but I think that she still matters because representation mattered so much when she first came onto the scene in 1996, and I think that it still does. And I think it's great because she really inspired a generation of especially young women to really embrace their strength and independence and intelligence and all these things. And now she still matters because she's teaching us that you can't have bravery without fear, and that you're stronger because you push through your flaws and accept them. And I think that she just continues to be so relevant in so many ways and still so inspirational. And also her fans, you guys are the ones that make her still relevant and amazing and fuel all of us to always keep doing our best work. So round of applause for you guys. Thank you.
Okay, so Andy.
I can touch a button now?
You can hit the button now, I'm sorry. From now on, you're in control of the button, and I'll do whatever the button says. Here is some of your art, some of your Tomb Raider, some of your Laras. How do you get started with Lara Croft and Tomb Raider?
I started in the comic book industry back in '95 for Rob Liefeld, and soon after that, I decided I wanted to go to art school. So I went to Art Center in Pasadena, and I had one more year left of school left, but then I got a call from Matt Hawkins, Mark Silvestri over at Top Cow, saying that they're gonna do a new Tomb Raider comic book. And at that time, there's never been a Tomb Raider comic book besides the one or two shots that Michael Turner did with Witchblade. And I knew, Tomb Raider is already an icon, so I was like, I'm relatively unknown. So I think this is, and Tomb Raider is just an awesome character, so I had to drop out. That was the second time I dropped out of college, and I came on board.
Have you gone back yet and finished?
No.
I think you're
one
doing
day
all right.
I'll make my parents proud.
So when you started off and you started doing these Top Cow comics, you're making this Tomb Raider comic book, did you expect to be attached to it for so long? Like, how long have you worked on Tomb Raider?
No, I went with no expectations besides, I knew it's a big franchise, so there was a lot of pressure because I'm not a big name like Michael Turner, and there's a lot of fan expectations. I just had to do the best that I could, so I just worked hard, just drawing into the night every day, and I did issues 1 through 20, Jeez. And I never expected that, almost, 15 years later that I'd be on this panel celebrating the 20th anniversary. So I'm honored that you guys asked. So
when it's happening for you, when you're making these books originally, is anyone breathing down your neck? Are you given all the freedom in the world? Or are they trying to rein you in?
Dan Jurgens was the writer. He did an awesome job, and the great thing about comic books is they hire the artists, and they pretty much leave it up to the artist to draw the character and the story however you want. I can do the page layout, the storytelling, however I want. They give me a lot of freedom.
So for you then, you've drawn a lot of stuff, not just Lara Croft.
Yep.
Like for you, what differentiates her versus another female you might draw or another hero you might work with?
Funny enough, I work at Marvel Studios right now for the films, and I design Black Widow, and I get to draw for all the films. So there are actually similarities, but I think
you're just copying everything.
Well, female strong heroine. They both have the 2 holsters on their legs. There are similarities, but Laura is unique. She, whereas Black Widow is more the assassin, stealth. Laura is the adventurer. She also can be seen as a humanitarian, kind of helping people, and I think her look is just very unique. With the, she's got the ponytail, she's got just all the different outfits, and she's not as like her fighting style is quite different from a lot of the other characters that I've drawn. But she's
Doesn't that make for more work though? Her fighting style is so different. Like, where can you go for reference shots, or what are you doing?
For the comic book, funny enough, this is before there was the internet, but there wasn't a lot of images online.
This kid, the redhead, born before 19. Yeah, it was a bad place before the internet.
Ancient times.
You don't even know, man.
1999, ancient times. So I trade secret. I used myself to.
I knew you did mocap for her.
I know. Using the mirror a lot. I just I would pose, turn myself into a woman. Read into it however you want, but
You look
a lot of those
great.
covers.
So
You can imagine me.
Do you want to? You can stand
Probably
up and
don't want to.
reenact any one of these three you want. You can reenact whichever one you want right now.
I did. I used a couple from I used my girlfriend at the time for some shots. I don't know why I used myself more, but.
So then there's been these 4 Tomb Raider series, right? And you've been involved with each and every one of them. What makes you keep coming back to the character?
I think, because for me, I worked in comic books for 10 years, and I've been a concept artist for the past 10 years. But in my comic book career, Tomb Raider is the pinnacle for me. That was the one that was meant the most to me. It was the longest run I had on a comic book. And just through the years, the fans constantly, I'll get emails, I get contacts, social media, they say how much Tomb Raider meant to them, the comics that I did, and that it was Tomb Raider that got them into comics, the Tomb Raider comic books. And I love drawing her, I love painting her, so when Dark Horse, redid or they got the rights to do the comic books, I had to be a part of that, and yeah.
And then
really fun.
this is you too, right? Completely different art style from what we just saw.
Yeah, because when I went to art school, I learned how to paint and do all that kind of stuff. So it's what I love to do. I love to paint. So the style has evolved, but this is kind of more representative of my style now. And
Oh wow.
yeah, that one was so fun because the one on the left is the very first cover I did, first poster cover I did for Tomb Raider back in 1999. And the right one just came out, was it last year or this year? But I asked, can I do a tribute cover to the original? But then, of course, the right one is more it is more in the style of the classic Laura versus the current game.
Hold on, we have another one. I want your insight on this one.
The one on the left is actually the very first drawing I ever did of Laura. I got the gig from Top Cow, and I was in a hotel room, and I just said, I don't know how to draw her, so I just drew her. And that's what came out, and I was kind of surprised, and I was like, oh, that's actually
You're
not
like, whoo,
bad.
I'm going to be okay at this job. Thank God.
I know. And then the right one I just did, and it's you guys are seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
It's going to be for the book that Meagan right here wrote.
It's actually for the art book for the 20-year celebration one.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yep, sorry.
But that means that everybody will have a chance to get it this fall.
Yes. So again, I got to do a tribute piece to one of the originals I've done.
Now, there's some other announcement, right?
You ready to make your announcement?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you want to hear a new announcement?
Excited!
Yay! I'm honored. They wanted me to announce this. I'm honored to announce it that Dark Horse got the rights to Tomb Raider, and they're going to be making a new book called Tomb Raider Archives, and it collects all 50 issues of the best-selling Top Cow comic, Tomb Raider Journeys, and all the one-shots. It's broken into 4 volumes, hardcover, 8.5 by 12 inches. Volume 1 is coming out this November, totaling 407 pages, and I got the honor of writing the foreword for that book, and you can find out more at tombRaider.tumblr.com. So that's exciting.
You know it's a serious announcement when it's verbatim. He's like, I don't want to screw any of this information
I
up.
can't memorize that.
This is one of those things that fans have been asking us for us for so long because it's so hard to find the individual issues, and there was a compendium, but that sold out, and so now finally everybody will have a chance to reread everything in one place. You won't have to collect all the individual issues. So
Yay.
good to see all your beautiful art again.
Debbie Lash.
Hello.
They refer to you as, let me get this right now, the Lara Model Manager. What the hell does that mean?
So, once upon a time, 20 years ago, I was working with Larry Sparks, who was the worldwide marketing director, and part of my job back then was putting on the corporate events. And so at one of these events, I met Rona Mitra, and we hit it off, and little did I know that she went and asked if I could be her main point of contact at Eidos. So I kind of went from working just in the marketing department to then looking after and being the day-to-day point with Rona. So that started with, when the whole kind of Lara phenomenon kicked off, it meant bringing in a team of makeup artists and hairstylists and costume designers, and and it just snowballed.
I was going to say,
yeah,
that sounds. When did you realize you had the tiger by the tail on this?
Like when the whole phenomenon just blew up, it just one day we were just brainstorming, and it just came about that this was a full-time role. So I just now I look back and just think I was really just in the right place at the right time. And, I actually owe quite a lot to Rona because she kind of kick-started, catapulted my career for the next 10 years.
So, did it really quickly just supersede everything else you were doing and this became the job?
Oh, I remember being in London at ECTS, and they had announced, they were about to make the official announcement at ECTS, and Rona was, she was in the latex, and she hadn't been released to the public, and she came in on the back of a Harley Davidson, and the press, and back then the fans hadn't even had much of a taste, but it just went bonkers. And and I just remember like looking, and my mouth, I was just like gobsmacked, thinking, holy smoke. This is just unbelievable, and it did just overnight. It just, she turned into a star, and Rona Mitra, was an actress in her own right, and she set the precedent of what it was to take Lara to the next level, because we were a gaming company, so we were surrounded by very, intelligent, techie,
Dorks. They look like me.
No,
I got it.
no,
We understand.
No, but it's not, it wasn't Hollywood, and we didn't know how to, to work with talent, and, and Rona, led the way. So, she was, handing out her demands of what it was that she needed to make her feel the star. And, but, who was to see that we were going to roll this campaign out for the next 10 years? So, yeah.
So for moving on, what's like the audition process to be Lara Croft?
So, I guess after Rona, and the whole Lara phenomenon, the actual contract for the Lara job became very desirable. It was a minimum of 100 days' work, which is unheard of for any, model in the industry. That's unknown also. And they had international travel. They, transportation. They went from being an unknown model to being, a celebrity overnight.
Sure,
Once that press release came out, their life just, changed overnight.
How many in total have there been?
There's been 6 Laras that I've casted. So we started, well, actually there was another girl called Natalie.
Yeah.
So the very first ECTS where, it was the game actually hadn't been released, but the stand was phenomenal. It was all built like tombs, and we hadn't actually got to the point of casting just one Lara, and it was a bit of the Boardman kind of the boys' club. And they were like, oh, let's get some lovely Laras and like have them walking around the stage. And so back then they were just in like little shorts and a little white t-shirt with Tomb Raider on and just their hair braided. And there wasn't a makeup, there was no glam squad.
Sure.
It was, just promotional girls. And then from there, they were like, oh, there's, because of just even the interest around just seeing these girls on the stand. And then it just naturally, internally they were like, maybe we need to just focus this in on just having one girl to
Represent, be the face of it?
Exactly.
Yeah. How did they feel about all the latex tops? And how, because that seems very hot. I'm hot right now in a t-shirt, but this costume looks ridiculously hot to travel the world in.
Yeah, so one of my roles, and I'm just, I loved my job. And one of my roles was to recreate the costume to a T, to the in-game model. There wasn't any varying off. So I worked with a renowned English costume designer called Stephen Fuller, and he just happened to specialize in latex. So once he had brought in a sample, and it was like brought to life, and we used a silicone spray. And everyone just loved it. It just had all the elements of being futuristic. It was sexy. It like enhanced. I should not have my hands like that. It enhanced all of Lara's assets and curves, just all in the right places.
So then, when you become the Lara Croft model, is it your full-time job? Is there always something going, or did it run in like waves where there was things like we're really busy right now?
Well, so like I said earlier, that they would work up to at least 100 days in the cycle of the PR campaign, and it did pretty much dominate those girls' lives because even when they weren't officially working abroad or making an appearance, there was just endless magazine interviews, and online started growing, and so it took over their lives. We were doing around the height of the launch, we would do 2 to 3 countries a week, in Europe, and we'd be away from 1 to 2 weeks at a time. It was phenomenal. We had such a blast. There were just lots of laughs, lots of men, lots of travel, lots of airports. It was great. These girls became really good friends.
You talk about you loved your job and that there was all these great times. Like what are the memories that stand out? Is it a Lara meeting a fan, or is it some stupid airport story where they lost all the guns?
There was just so many that it was a little bit like working with a pop star, because she just had such an incredible fan base that everywhere we went, there were queues and queues of people just waiting for their 5 minutes to be with her, to have that Polaroid. I took thousands of Polaroids. And, fans were there that had, their arm tattooed. She had to sign their backs. People had done beautiful paintings. They adored her. And it wasn't just men. It was women, mums bringing their kids. And it just, she became a household name.
Now, we're looking through all these different images. We're seeing all of them throughout the years. What I appreciate, and I didn't know until I was talking to Meagan about it, you actually helped organize the 10th anniversary, or the reunion shoot, right? Like, where you brought everybody back together?
Yeah, that was like, I think, we did literally hundreds of photo shoots. And, but the 10th anniversary, for me, was just so memorable because I just bringing all the Laras into one room. And I wasn't quite sure how they would bond, or if there'd be kind of any like, ooh, was she a better Lara, or she did this and I didn't. But actually, they just had such great energy together, and they were all sharing like their Lara war stories. And and it was weird because I was able to step back and look at 10 years' work. It's a bit like looking at a child that you've raised, and I just got to see 10 years of a quarter of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that happen. Right? We all appreciated them.
Can I jump in for 1 second?
Meagan Marie, you can do whatever you want.
If you guys want to see what essentially her costumes that she helped design looked like, one for one, Jen, can you stand up for a second? So this is Jen Croft. She's been cosplaying Lara for 16 years, and she recreated the classic Lara one. She's got
come up here. Don't just stand at your seat,
she has
please.
like how heavy are those boots? They're like 12 pounds. These new rock boots are so heavy. So this is for a lot of cosplayers, the kind of like the ultimate costume they can do is the classic Lara one. So Jen and Annie are actually both our, Annie, stand up and wave too. They're both our Lara Croft cosplayers officially here for Comic-Con. Jen's been cosplaying Lara 16 years, Annie's been cosplaying Lara 18 years. So it's cool to have them out and have them to pose at our conventions. Is it cool to still see like people wearing the costume that you helped design now?
It's brilliant. I think I actually recognized Jen.
Yeah, she looks amazing.
Hello.
Camilla, that one looks like you.
I know. It's so weird.
Meagan Marie, what's next?
Wait, what?
Book.
Book?
Book.
Your book. You made this book.
The book. Yeah.
What is it? We got to announce it at PAX, but we didn't get.
know. Evidently at PAX, I forgot to tell people I wrote it. I just talked about it.
We're getting better at
I
announcements.
got off of the panel and they're like, "You never told anyone you're the one that wrote it." Okay. So yes, I had the extreme honor of writing this book. It was in collaboration with Crystal and Prima Games. It's 360 pages. It covers the entire franchise history and community. 100 of those pages are just dedicated to our amazing community. It'll be out this November. Yeah.
But what was that like for you? Because you're a community manager. You've worked with the Tomb Raider franchise forever, but like it's not like you got hired and then Tomb Raider started mattering to you, right?
No, oh goodness, no. There's photos of me when I was 12 running around pretending to be Lara, which I treasure now and never thought that they would be used to prove my street cred as a Tomb Raider fan. But yeah, the opportunity came about because we have all these plans for the 20th anniversary, and we're trying to figure out all these unique ways to celebrate the franchise. And so we were talking to Prima about a book. We should write this book, and I guess I must have been very enthusiastic in pitching it to them, because then they came back and said, "Well, how involved would you like to be?" And I looked at my boss and I was like, "How involved am I allowed to be?" So yeah, it was about 5 or 6 months of writing. Jeez. It was my first book. It was quite challenging. I wrote it backwards, which is weird, because the beginning of the book is about the games, and that took me a very long time to get in contact with all the people from core design and Eidos and remake those connections and do interviews and transcribe everything. So I actually wrote the end of the book first and then worked my way towards the beginning. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do it, but hopefully it worked.
You wrote a book, so screw everybody else's opinion. It really doesn't matter. There's a book at the end of it, right? It doesn't matter how he got it.
We'll find out this November if it was successful.
So, like, when you sat down to do this, like, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, are your chapters about, like, years? Are they about moments? Are they about games?
Yeah, I thought the best way to approach it would be to go by different mediums. So we started out with the video games, then we went to the comics, and then the movies, and then Lara's just pop culture influence, and end on the community and the fans. So it covers the entire scope of Tomb Raider, which is pretty intense because essentially the franchise has infiltrated every facet of pop culture. So.
No big deal.
It's a huge franchise. It's so exciting.
How many nights did you go home and regret asking to be super involved?
None.
That's why we're quite different. I would have been like, why did I ask to write this book?
I didn't have a day off for 6 months, but it was worth it because it's a passion project and because I love the franchise so much and just wanted to share all of this, knowledge and information. And to really, the thing that I think meant the most to me was giving fans that opportunity to be involved and recognize their hard work. Like Annie is one of the people that she's been dressing up as Lara for like 18 years, and this year she's out here representing Lara for us, and I know that like that means a lot, and to give fans the chance to be recognized in an official capacity really meant a lot to me too.
So then, you've been close with the franchise, obviously, in your career now as a fan before. So for you, what was the most interesting part of it? Was it interviewing your coworkers now about what's going on, or going back and trying to find somebody, or like talking to, cosplay people?
I mean, I guess I'm a little spoiled because I get to talk to my coworkers at Crystal all the time. I did get really nervous talking to people from core design, and so interviewing people like Richard Morton and Heather, and it was awesome talking to Debbie about all the models and so on. One of the interviews that I found particularly fascinating was Sonia Klaus, who was she was a set dresser for both of the movies, and she had just these fascinating stories to tell, and just the thought that went into dressing all of the sets. Croft Manor, would Lara have redecorated after her father disappeared? Would she have kept everything the same? What would she have redecorated with? And these stories of almost getting blown up in Cambodia because someone was smoking a cigarette in a room full of fireworks. And there's just all these interesting stories from the set of the movie that she shared. And so that was really cool, because I have had no connections to really, I've never been near any sort of Hollywood production. So
No.
it's very cool to hear all the behind the scenes stuff. That was very foreign to me.
So then, comes out in November.
Yes.
Where can people get it?
Well, right now it's actually on sale on Amazon Prime. For Amazon Prime, you can get it right now for $17.66. And it's 350 pages, so
That's a good deal.
yeah, I think so.
Even if you can't even get Kindling that cheap, so
yeah.
just saying.
You can get them at major retailers all over and Amazon, so yeah.
Awesome. And then since it's the 20th anniversary, is there more stuff happening? We haven't talked about that at all. I mean, we're doing a panel. That's pretty cool.
There are more things happening. I don't think we can announce. I'm still working on some weird, bizarre community things. Like anytime that I can find an old partner and try to make something showcase, I'm trying to make that happen. No announcements yet, but we're still going to try to do more unique things. What other things we've done the Tomb Raider Suite. We just announced the concert in London. We're selling tickets for that. We've got the game, which we'll have Noah talk about and all
Yes,
of that.
we
So I'll
will,
stop
Noah.
rambling. I'm going to let Noah talk about the game.
Noah, tell me about this game that's coming to PlayStation 4 and has a Platinum Trophy and has PlayStation VR. Yeah, who likes PlayStation? Who's going to Vita Island?
All right, yeah, we're bringing this one out to PlayStation 4 October 11th. I'm very excited about that. I've been waiting about a year for that to happen. And in particular, this story was very exciting for us to tell. It was the second chapter after the reboot, and we felt that we had got to explore Lara's character. She had become a survivor in the last game, but she also glimpsed this deeper secret world. She saw something that she couldn't explain, and that changed her forever. So this story is about her pursuing those ancient secrets that are lost to time, that we get to see her for the first time not just use tomb raiding as a means of surviving the island, but in this case she uses survival as a means of tomb raiding, as a means of unlocking something lost for centuries. And for us, that was an important step for her as a character, because the closer, or the farther we get from her reboot, the closer we want to see her become who she's meant to be. So this really becomes that important step of her going on this expedition. And for us, we always like to look at that not just from a mythology standpoint. In this case, she's looking for the secret of immortality. She finds a myth that leads her to Siberia. One of the things about lost secrets is that they're very hard to find, that they're in the most remote
It's kind of the point of them, right? The lost
corners
secrets.
of the world. So Siberia seemed like a good place that you might lose something for a while. And it was also something that would leverage those survival skills that she learned in order to essentially get to the bottom of this secret. And so for us, being able to send her on that expedition, but also start to ask questions like, what, we sort of look at these through the real world lens of something like Everest climbers, that what possesses someone to risk their lives to go beyond the boundaries of what has been discovered. And for us, we wanted to answer that question for Lara, that what makes her tick? Why does she go on these expeditions? What is she trying to discover, and what does it mean to her? And so through the course of this story, we see her grow in her relationship with these ancient secrets. So she gets one step closer to becoming that Tomb Raider.
Who's played Rise of the Tomb Raider? I told you not to raise your hands. I was very clear. Let's all get on the same page. Who's played Rise of the Tomb Raider? Thank you. Now, who hasn't played Rise of the Tomb Raider? I would be like, oh, that would be me. This game's awesome. And what I love about the fact that this game is so awesome is that you could have totally phoned it in. You could have phoned it in with this PlayStation 4 edition or whatever, but you're not, and you're tying it into the celebration. Like,
Yeah.
was there a part of you that wanted to phone it in?
No. Actually, that's one of the things I love about working in the games industry is that we have such passionate people, just like the fans. The people I work with never want to phone it in. That they really love what they do and they want to make the best thing they can. So when we had the opportunity, we had done a definitive edition before for the first reboot, which included all of the downloadable content and things like that. And so there's a natural sort of sense that we could do the same thing this time around and just include some of that DLC. And we did, so you'll get, if you buy it now, you get all the DLC ever made, all the outfits ever made, you basically get everything. But because it was that celebration year, we really wanted to do something that spoke to the franchise as a whole. And for me, there was also a creative opportunity sort of left on the table, that one of the things that we explore in the story is Lara's manor, that we see her coming back to the manor for the first time in a long time. And for me, that wasn't, that's more than her house, that this is something that's part of her identity. I think of it as, a Batman in the Batcave or Superman in the Fortress of Solitude, that these are
Good references.
These are parts of these characters. And so for me, going back to the manor had this allure of reconnecting her with part of her iconography. And so we did that in the main story, but I sort of felt like we hadn't really delivered it in a way that fans would love. And that was that opportunity to say, hey, if we're going to do something new, let me please do the manor, because I'm dying to create a playable experience in Lara's house, that it becomes the perfect canvas for learning who she was as a child, sort of what formed her as a character. You get to learn a lot of secrets that go beyond what you learn in the main campaign, but you also just get that nostalgic sense of her coming back into this part of her character.
And this is what you're describing as blood ties, right? This
So
is
this is blood ties. This is a unique story DLC that we made specific to the release this October. We also put other things like outfits are something that are always a great celebration of classic Lara. So we did two things with outfits this time. We made a classic inspired outfit, so a Tomb Raider 3 outfit with the orange jacket, and that comes with a weapon, and that's playable in the main story. So I love playing through the main campaign with a classic Lara outfit or classic Lara inspired outfit. Which is just amazing. But then also, if anyone's seen the video, we have low poly Laras. And these are super fun because you can see them, you can play in the replay modes with these outfits. And you can see Lara in all of the cinematics doing all of the crazy stuff, and it's a blast. So for us, we want to do a whole bunch of things. We did some extra just enhancements as well. We added co-op mode, so you can play with your friends, and that's something, actually, tomb raiding with friends is super cool. And we added an extended difficulty mode, so we tried to refine the experience, but the thing we were most excited about was some of these classic elements coming back.
That's awesome. Miss Camilla Luddington.
Yes.
How are you?
Great. I'm great. So nice to be here again.
How does it feel to be back at Comic-Con? And I remember talking to you on the lead up to the original Tomb Raider, not the original Tomb Raider, but your first Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And you were nervous, you were anxious, you wanted to get it out, and then it came out, and I'm pretty sure everybody loves her performance, right?
Yeah, I think at this point it feels like I'm coming home a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm always anxious before any game because it takes so long to make. People don't necessarily know how long the games take. The first game took 3 years. The second game took 2. So
next game's gonna take 1. Don't worry.
So I think the build-up before I get here, it lasts so long that I'm anxious by the time I get here. But this is kind of nice because the second game has already come out, but it's also exciting because there are, PS fans in here that haven't explored it yet. So it's nice to come back, and it's the 20th anniversary, and it feels amazing to be part of it.
Was it the same coming back to do Rise of the Tomb Raider? Or was it like getting back in, like, all right, good, I'm getting to do this again, and I've learned so much from the first time?
It was similar and it was different. I think in the first game, I was trying to creatively discover who she was to me. And, in the first game, and I think Noah did a great job of describing the transition that she makes, but in the first game, she's very naive. There's a part of her that's distancing herself from her father's work. And then in the second game, going into it, she's heartbroken, she's mourning, she's lost people, she's a darker character. And now I think you feel the spirit of her father more in the second game. So I went into it feeling like, yes, I've played this character before, but she's made a huge, massive transition. This is trauma. And what does that mean? And I think that one of the most interesting things in the second game is that she takes all of the heartache and all of the trauma from Yamatai, and it kind of transitions and turns into this drive that you see that pushes her through the second game. So it was really fun, but again, you're discovering kind of a new character in the second game.
Sure. You do all this characterization. You know Lara, you're talking about motivations, why this is happening, all this stuff.
Yeah.
How hard is it to remember all that when that's on your face while you're trying to put that performance out?
I think that it is very distracting because those are two cameras in front of me. And what's hard is that is in your eye line. But I think over time you kind of do forget. The only thing is that there have been scenes where I've had to hug other actors, like Alex in the first game, and we got stuck in each other. Like our cameras got twisted, and there was this awkward, like almost like, hey, I'm sorry, it's me. No, it's always awkward. It's never going to be comfortable, but I'm getting used to it.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but do you prefer one form of acting over the other, like video games like this or like Grey's Anatomy?
No, it's funny because this is the character I've played the longest out of any character I've ever played.
Wow.
So weirdly, it may sound cheesy, but Lara feels like she's part of me. And actually, creatively, what's kind of fun about Tomb Raider is that we're not given a set to work with. So sometimes your imagination is more powerful than something they could even build. And that's really fun to work with. It's fun for me to see pictures, but then create the world in my mind. And then this is the first time that I've seen Croft Manor. Like, I haven't even seen that yet myself. So it's fun to have explored that in my head and then to see what it looks like. So the process is different, but creatively, it pushes you more.
So then on the other side now of two games being Lara, what is it like to see folks dressed up as you and this character that you feel is a part of you?
Way better than I do. It's embarrassing. No, it's so incredible, and we spend such a long time in a room that kind of is bigger than this, called the volume, making the game, and you almost forget that people are going to play it because you're just in a bubble for years. So then when you get to come to Comic-Con, you see girls dressed as Lara who look incredible, and they have so much, their attention to detail is mind-blowing. It's amazing, and it just makes me kind of re-fall in love with the game and the fans again, because the passion is it's overwhelming.
You are very passionate fans.
It's very passionate.
I want to make sure you all have a chance to ask a question too, so please get to the microphone now if you'd like to ask a question of our panel. We are short on time, I know. I don't know why you stood up and sat back down, green shirt man. You're like, I do. You know what? No, I don't. This has been good. Tim, tell me who Green Shirt Man is.
The first question is from Mark.
Okay.
He's from right here in San Diego.
Gotcha.
Hi. Whoa, my voice sounds weird. So this question's for Camilla. So when I played through the first game after the reboot, Tomb Raider 2013,
Yeah.
there were those scenes where you could see the transition in Lara, and especially towards the end when she's rock climbing up that mountain trying to get to Sam to stop the sun goddess, and
Spoiler alert.
You had your chance. All right. I understand you're PlayStation faithful. You should have been listening to the spoiler cast and everything else.
Yeah.
And so my question was, how did you prepare yourself for those scenes where you had to have? It really moved me, is what I'm trying to get at. But how did you prepare yourself for that?
Something that is kind of amazing about Tomb Raider is that it feels like we shoot it in chronological order for the most part. Wouldn't you agree? He's like, no. Kind of?
Yeah, we definitely try to save
Yeah.
it for last.
So at that point, it wasn't like we shot that first. That was one of the last things that we shot for that game. And at that point, you do go on that emotional journey with that character. But also for me, as an actress, it helps me to pull on things from my own life, and I've lost someone very, very close to me, and I understand what that desperation and that feeling feels like, and it's very surreal, but it helps me in those moments to connect it to things that I have experienced too, just to make the character feel hopefully as real and grounded as possible in very extraordinary circumstances. So yes, that's an extremely emotional scene. Obviously, I don't know what it's like experiencing a goddess. Spoiler. But yes, at that point, I think I sort of felt like I'd been on the journey with her. And so it was preparing for 2 years, for that scene.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Jenny. She's also from San Diego.
Okay.
Hi. I have a question for Noah. The 2013 reboot game had the revised Laura visually, where she's kind of like less sexualized. And can you talk about how that decision was made and how it affected the franchise?
Yeah, I think we set out in the reboot to try to take Lara and add dimensions to her personality, or essentially bring out dimensions in her personality that were always there. But she had become such an icon that people, to some extent, simplified her to her physical appearance. They would talk about the braids or her figure or something like that. And one of the things that we wanted to do was try to make her feel as real as possible. And a lot of that comes from Camilla's performance. But part of it was making people reevaluate her as a character, to essentially meet her again for the first time. And our visual design tried to make her closer. It tried to maintain aspects of her signature look, but just dial it back a little, basically take away some of the stylization of that character. So for us, that goal was about humanizing her, and the visual design was essentially trying to re-envision a lot of those core visual traits in a more grounded and believable style.
Okay. And my second part about how it has affected the franchise, have you gotten any feedback, good, bad?
Yeah, I mean, the one of the things that's great about making something like this is you get feedback all the time, but you get as many different pieces of feedback as there are different people. So, a lot of people miss aspects of classic Lara, and we do too, and sort of part of what the Celebration Edition is to us is to share that with people and say, as much as we love the re-envisioned Lara, that we love classic Lara as well. So we really, at Crystal, celebrate sort of all of the Laras through time, and each represents something different to different people. But a lot of the feedback we got was positive reinforcement, that we hear people now in the same way people described her physical attributes. I hear people talk about her resilience, her determination, and some of those things more than I heard before. So in some ways, to me, that is the reflection of the goal we set out to do.
Awesome, thank you.
Do you guys like new Lara?
Straight out of Massachusetts, we got Noah.
My question's for Camilla. For the second game, did you read any of the comics to get more of the backstory for Lara as a character?
Honestly, I did not, because I feel like I don't know, that's terrible. We went into, honestly,
Well, he doesn't watch your
Well, he
TV
didn't-
show.
You don't watch Grays. I didn't because sometimes I feel like the story actually changes a lot. When we go into a table read like we did for this game, it's constantly evolving, so I tend not to hold on to anything and think that that is solid. It's always evolving, and so I sort of take what from the script and what we do in rehearsal, and develop the character and help me sort of get on the journey from there. But I don't know how else to get out of saying that no, I didn't read it, but I will though. I will read them.
And part of it is just to recognize that we tried to strip Lara in the reboot back to just her core DNA, and that some of that, because it was a reset of the canon, that a lot of those things that she went through, this Lara hadn't yet gone through. So a lot of it was trying to reconstruct from the beginning who would this character start as, the character that we know and love in the comics. How does someone become that character? And so in some ways that fresh reconstruction of Lara from the core DNA rather than the existing canon was fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been 20 years of Tomb Raider. Thank you so much for coming. Give your panel a round of applause.